Hello, my name is Raph Wangutusi and this is breaking news. Last night we experienced something that has not really happened in the country ever. And with me I have protesters who were there at the event. First, we have
Amanya Kimathi.
Beside him is
Nadia, Nthia,
and
Wacera, Thande.
And together we'll be dissecting the events that happened yesterday. The protest started on Tuesday and later happened on Thursday, finishing on Thursday night around 9 p.m. with Occupy State House, which we'll be dissecting. So, starting with you, Wacera, how did you get involved in this protest?
Well, first things first, I'm very politically engaged because I believe that it's good to understand politics because it governs our lives. There's a conversation we had earlier that law governs our lives. So I had heard about these protests on Twitter, like a lot of other people, and I learned that people are going to Nairobi, CBD on Tuesday to march to Parliament. So I had organized with my friends to go, and that's how I ended up going. So I was there on Tuesday and yesterday.
Nice.
Yes.
Now, an interesting thing that I also just personally learned today is you were there with Shad organizing this thing and passing out these leaflets.
Yes.
How did that start?
Okay, this is a very funny story because, yes, we had seen the hashtag on Twitter. We participated in pushing the movement on social media. But on Saturday, Shadrach calls me and then he's like, we have money between the two of us. We have money that we can use to print out posters, to print out placards and distribute them to people. So that's exactly what we did. We left our house. We met up at Capitol Center in the afternoon, printed a bunch of posters and just went distributing them to people. We were kicked out of Capitol Center for doing that. Yeah. So the fight moved from Capitol Center to the CBD. So now Shadrach on Monday proceeded with the distributing of posters and placards in the CBD.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it started. That
Nice.
is literally how it started.
I like the point that you've brought out about being kicked out of Capitol Center.
Yes.
Because this is now where the force starts getting in.
Yes.
And Kimathi, you remember on Tuesday, on social media, your video was all over when DCI got you into the vehicle. So how was your experience feeling this brutality, yet in the videos that were shown on social media, there was no force that you were showing. There was no resistance also, because you are simply just describing what should be happening. So how was your experience?
Honestly, tragic. That 14 years after the Constitution, we are still fighting for rights we already have. You know, not even, and the thing about fundamental human rights is that they're inherent in you. They do not belong to the state. They are not hanging out there and then you can pluck them once in a while. They are who you are. All the Constitution does is codify them. We agree, okay, fine, these are the fundamental rights. But so that they are not there, even as you were sitting to write down the Constitution, the rights were there. But we have, in this country, there's some mischief afoot. I call it ilianza na, this idea of ilianza na kuku moja. They are within this country, in our political space, there are people who benefited from the old system. The people we enacted the Constitution to get rid of, and their values. But somehow, for whatever reason, and mostly because we've been prioritizing tribal leadership other than merit, we ended up having these people back into power. So now what has happened is this menace, because it's a menace, has started to creep. We are seeing defiance of court orders by the police. We are seeing the judiciary being a policeman walks into a court. A tent. Because now we are setting aside billions to renovate houses and give spouses allowances. Meanwhile, our seats of justice are intense, surely. Anyway, what we've done, what has happened in this country is that there's a menace. It's creeping into this country. It's emboldening the forces of evil. Now let's, because this is the language they understand.
Just to get into that, as you've mentioned, what also happened to the magistrate who got shot.
Yes.
Getting back to what happened just last night, Rex.
Thank you.
This, as I've come to learn from you, you ended up leaving the protest at around 8 p.m.
Yes.
So how can you say the whole thing escalated? Because during the day, it was seen to be mostly peaceful. So how would you describe the whole escalation from peaceful to at night someone dying?
It's the same thing. There are people in this country who are trying to hold us back, who think that we can ever go back to the Moi's days. Moi is not only gone, he's dead and buried. You know, as in 14 years after the new constitution. It's time enough to wake up and smell the coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, it's also the lack of respect for the rule of law. In this country, we do not uphold the rule of law. From our politicians to the judiciary,
the governors.
to the governors, everyone, nobody, a lot of people do not uphold the rule of law. And so when you have a killer cop, like the person who killed Rex, who shot live ammunition at protesters who were running away and killed a young man who now doesn't have a future anymore, it's because of that thing, the impunity and the corruption that we have seen time and time and time again. So,
Nice. Now, for context, on my left is Kimathi and Nadia. And a simple question, is using live bullets at protests legal?
Now, my answer to that question will have its backing in the law. Actions by the police towards protesters are governed by the Public Order Act and the National Police Service Act. And there is nowhere in those two legislations that provision has been made for using live ammunition towards protesters, especially unarmed, innocent protesters. Peaceful protesters. Nobody was armed on Tuesday, nobody was armed on Thursday, but we've seen so many cases of people being beat up by police, police lobbying tear gas canisters at us, shooting us, rubber bullets were being shot. It is insane, it is ridiculous, and we need to call out these cops for the outright endangerment of the lives of peaceful protesters. Someone needs to be held accountable. Yes.
Now, when it comes to accountability, Kimathi, what do you think about IPOA? Does IPOA do a good job, and if so, what can they do? Who else can Kenyans turn to when it comes to such cases?
Clearly, IPOA is not doing a good job, because if they did, the police wouldn't be so bold. So the question is, what more can be done? And it's not enough. I mean, if IPOA knows that they're an oversight agency and they can act on their own motion, they should not just be in their office. Let them come to the protests. Why are they being paid? Why are we paying them? Not they are being paid. Why are we paying them?
Our taxes.
To provide oversight of the police. They have, in 14 years, they can just sit down and ask themselves, when are public lives most endangered in the city? We are always in the CBD every day. Today there are over 1 million people in the CBD or whatever number it is, but they are not in danger. Why? Because the police are not there. The police, the immediate threats to people's safety in the CBD comes the moment the national police, who are supposed to be a service, enters the CBD.
And you know, Raph, if you've realized throughout the protest on Tuesday, on Thursday, the only violence that erupted emanated from the police.
Sorry, one example I can give is on Tuesday, we had first of all, when we got there on Tuesday, we were going to meet at different specific places that Boniface Mwangi had shared, Hanifa had shared. But when I was walking through town, there was cops in each and every single one of those places. Cops to do what? Come and capture us who are walking around with literally our IDs and a bag that has water.
And lip gloss.
And lip gloss, as GK Nyambura said, you know? So it's so disheartening, because I remember when we were at Nation Center, we had just gathered, people were singing. At us, we were not being even sticks or anything. We were singing with papers. Nasikia tu tear gas. So the instigators of the violence from the beginning has been the cops, has been the law authorities. And when did we get to a point as actually, as a country, we have tolerated people being above the rule of law for too long.
Nice. Now,
too long.
To get into this conversation of the the conflict that's been happening. We can't avoid that there was a chaos that also erupted in CBD last night. People are saying it's goons, some people are saying it's protesters. Is the presence of the police still important in such situations? And if so, how can they handle it better?
I think you're better able to answer that question because you're in the CBD around 8 p.m. because I left at 5.
The police are supposed to provide security. Yeah? That's their only role during a mass gathering. Nothing else. Just provide security. And what were they doing instead? They still have this notion carried over from the, I think, 1952 Public Order Act, that there is such a thing as an unlawful assembly. You cannot unlawfully exercise a constitutional right. It is an oxymoron, if they can understand that. You know, it's an oxymoron. The thing is, we are okay, let me tell you, we've come to the point where we are a sovereign public. We have some representatives from America sitting in parliament. There's no provision in our constitution for American MPs to sit in parliament. There's a provision in our constitution for public members of the public to present petitions to parliament. There's a provision in our legislation for senators to enter parliament. What happens? The senators are bad, the public is bad. But somehow the US members of parliament find themselves in our parliament. What's wrong with us seriously as a nation?
Raph, on Tuesday and yesterday as well, there was a delegation of peaceful Kenyans, innocent Kenyans, who genuinely said, okay, the readings are happening, we would like to be there, we would like to be involved, but whenever they tried to access parliament, what was the police's response? Lobbing tear gas at them, shooting at them. Shooting rubber bullets at them. So as Amanya said, there is a provision that allows for Kenyans to be present during parliament proceedings, but that is not what we see. All we see is a gross violation of our fundamental rights, our fundamental constitutional rights, and it is not okay.
All we're trying to do is be active citizens, be in the process of these policies being passed. We're not only doing our constitutional rights, but are also participating in our constitutional rights as citizens. As a Kenyan, I have the right to go and listen to what my MP says and also give feedback.
Because you put them in that office to begin with.
Exactly.
Now, to get even deeper into the whole topic, based on the interviews that we've been watching and even how the protest began, this was young people calling each other through social media platforms, and finally on Tuesday and Thursday making it to the streets. Now, when it came to one of the activists who was interviewed on TV, Shadrach, saying that he's not the leader, he's not the leader of the group. Boniface Mwangi on Twitter also saying he's not the leader of the group. Being that it's different activists coming together to lead this movement, when it comes to sitting down, who should sit down? Who should find the solutions?
I honestly think it should be the public and the people in general. We're a democratic country. And as a democracy, it is the people's voices that are represented by those members of parliament because we voted them in. So they listen to us, and it is our piper's tune that they dance to. So that is how it's supposed to be done. We already have those elected members of parliament. We as the people are telling them, vote no. That is the same thing with the protest. It is the people who are coming together and saying, sit down and listen to us. We've been in the streets twice, nationwide yesterday. Listen, what are people saying? That is the only thing you need to hear.
And in relation to what Wacera is saying, the Constitution provides for sovereign power of the people, which we can exercise through our elected representatives or directly. And as the situation stands now, our elected representatives have failed us completely in totality. So if that requires us to now go to the streets and exercise our sovereign power directly, we will. We have, and we will continue to do so until the systems that need to be in check are in check, and until things start working in this country, because things are not working in this country right now.
Nice. Now, since the conversation seems to be going on the fact that its MPs were supposed to be facilitating everything that Kenyans are seeking, will all this continue until the MPs are actually putting forward the needs of the people, or what's the end goal? Kimathi, what do you think?
Tyranny, the fight continues until tyranny ends. That is, it's a no-brainer. Article 1 says all sovereign powers, she says, belongs to the people. We have sent you on an errand.
Yes.
If you pick up your phone and call an Uber and you see it going to Kawangware and you're in Lavington, you will take offense.
Exactly.
Yeah. That person can only act as you have directed them. MPs have nothing without direction.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They do not, and I'm saying they still have this idea that there are some people who sit, I don't know where, direct. No.
And presently,
Yes.
presently, their direction is not coming from the people who put them in those offices.
Yeah.
It's coming from
Someone.
some high office,
Yes.
Yeah.
some
Not even
person.
You
high.
don't recognize.
Yeah.
If it's not, if it's not coming from an office or a means recognized in the constitution,
Yes.
si hapana tambua.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hatutambui.
Hatutambui.
It's true, hatutambui.
Yes.
Now, on that whole, on that discussion now, the fact that MPs were actually called to State House to pass this bill, what do you think about that?
It's wrong. Again, as I said before, it's the whole idea of these politicians thinking they're above the law. This constitution was fought for.
Yes.
In 2010, people voted for this to become law.
Yes.
So for you to think that you're still above the law, kwani Mungu alikupea a golden
It's
spoon?
ridiculous.
Like, you know,
It is
who do you
ridiculous.
think you are? That's the thing. I think that's what we're trying to show them. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We voted you in. You're in service to us.
Yes.
We can call you, we can do whatever we want because we voted you in. As far as I'm concerned, the taxes that I pay your salary.
Yes, they
So
do.
therefore, you're accountable to me.
Yeah.
And you listen to me.
Not
So,
to some,
not to the president,
some person,
not to the
not to
IMF,
some office.
not to those muzungus we were seeing coming into parliament.
Yeah.
Also, who are those muzungus? What
Yeah.
interest do they have? And I think a question we need to ask ourselves is, with this finance bill and other bills being passed in parliament, whose interest are they serving?
Yeah.
Clearly,
Because
they're
it's not the people.
Ndio maana tuko kwa streets. It's
Yes.
not the people's.
Yeah.
If they were in service to us, we would not feel the need to assemble, picket, protest, and try to fight for our country
Yeah.
with everything that we have as young people.
Yeah.
Till the point that someone has died. The
Nice.
fact
Someone
that
has died,
yes,
he has been
killed.
murdered.
Murdered.
Yeah.
One is dead. Peter Orandi is in hospital
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
He was shot twice
Yeah.
yesterday on the street.
Yeah.
He's awaiting surgery later on today. So,
There's a University of
Ridiculous.
Nairobi student missing.
missing.
Yeah.
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 So again, who do these people think they are that they can pick us out one by one, kill us, abduct us, and then you expect us to be quiet?
Now,
Article 10
Yeah.
provides that one of the principles and values of of governance is public participation.
Yes.
yeah.
Our protesting is public participation.
Is a
So
part-
that,
Yes.
that whatever is passed as whatever they're attempting to pass
Yeah.
as the finance bill or act,
It
or
is
whatever,
not in public
it does
interest.
not have public. It does not have the mandate of the people.
Yes.
Because if the people are out in large numbers protesting,
And saying
then,
no.
yes, and you've been told by Article 10(2)(a) that there must be public participation.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you are barricading Parliament from access to the same members of public who sent
put you
there.
there.
Now,
Really?
getting back into the conversation, will this end with some of this? Will this end with the bill not passing? Because we saw from the voting, the yeses compared to the noes. It's moving on to the committee. So when will this protest end, and when should this protest end? Because as I know, there should be a shutdown KE that has already begun on social media. So what's the point of the shutdown KE, and when should Kenyans expect that, okay, so there'll be no more protests because this and this and this is what we are seeing?
Yeah. One thing I'll say is, I don't know when the protest will end, but I know for a fact we're here for the long game.
Yes.
If we are saying, so lazima our MPs wanted 2027, we will do every single thing we can do that is constitutionally mandated.
Yes.
To make sure that these people are held accountable and that they listen to the voice of the people. The protest, as far as I'm concerned, we can protest till 2027, but
And
not
beyond.
only and beyond. But it's not only protesting, but if it means recalling these MPs, we will recall them.
Yeah.
If it
Absolutely
means
will.
going head to head with these people, we will. If it means learning the constitution from page, the cover to cover, tutaijua na tutafanya hiyo stuff.
Now I have a question on recalling the MPs, because we've been seeing increasing number of posts about recalling MPs, especially towards those who said yes. When it comes to issues such as impeachment, going back to CS Mythical Inventory of Agriculture and how that failed to happen, how sure are you that this will actually succeed?
Let me tell you something. Tracing, for example, say the leaders of this country, the first two presidents were life presidents. They were meant to be in power till death do us part. The first president died in office. The second one was supposed to die in office, but people said, no, you are misruling us, and got rid of him under the old constitution. And you're telling us we can't do it under the current constitution, which already provides for a recall clause. My friend, we are the sons and daughters of Mau Mau.
Exactly.
Never forget that.
Watch this space.
Yes, watch this.
And Raph, you asked when the protests are going to end. My only answer to that is it is just getting started. Young people, my generation will continue to be cognizant and aware of what our elected representatives, emphasis on the word representatives, we will continue to be cognizant of what they are doing in that house that they sit in. And if they continue to pass legislations that we believe are going to impair rules of social natural justice and how we get our livelihoods, we will reject them, all of them. And if we have to call them back home, we will. It is just getting started. Even floods begin as raindrops.
Amazing way to close that conversation. Thank you so much again for making time for this conversation.
Thank you.
My name is Raph Wangutusi, and this has been Breaking News. See you in the next one.
Thank you.